Khubor ka Batesi TV. Lawan Rashapi da ka Frank Motors. The dark is here to rule.
I would like to thank the Honorable Member from Nongpo and the Honorable Member from Nongkrem for having participated in this very important special motion that has been brought in. Sir, I have a written reply out here, which is, of course, highly technical in nature, which I will touch on. But before I do that, I would like to put things into perspective so that we all are on the same page as we move forward on this very, very important and critical issue that we are looking at. Sir, as has been rightly mentioned by many of the participants who participated today, that this is probably one of the most complex issues that our state has faced in the last 50 years. Apart from many other issues, the border issue has been one that has been very complicated and very difficult to resolve, and has been also politically a very sensitive issue. And hence we have seen that in the past many governments have tried to find some way forward in trying to come to some kind of a conclusion on this particular subject. Sir, I would like to remind the House that in the previous government, when we were there, and when we had discussed about this particular very important border issue, if you were to go back to my speech, which I gave in this House, I started my speech by thanking the past governments for all the work that they had done. I spent time to explain the contributions that had been made by the past governments. And my statement is in the record of this House, where I have mentioned that all the previous governments and all the previous chief ministers, in one way or the other, have contributed towards us being able to move towards a solution in this. So it would be incorrect for the members to say that we as a MDA are claiming that we are the only ones who have done this and that we are not giving any credit to the others. So that is not true at all. Maybe in political speeches outside, individuals could speak. If you were to pick up statements from every individual, party leaders, then we will not be able to come to the conclusion. You'll have to look at the speech of the head of the government and the speech that is given by the chief minister on the floor of the House, which should be the main statement and the position of the government. And therefore, in my speech, in those sessions that we had where we discussed about this issue, I very categorically had thanked the past governments and the past chief ministers for all the work and the contribution they had done to ensure that we were able to take this issue forward. Having said that, two things I would like to mention out here in this regard. Number one, many meetings took place in the past. I don't have the exact record right now with me of the number of meetings that took place between the chief ministers and the chief secretaries in the past 50 years. It is somewhere here in this document, but it's not coming in my memory right now. But a large number of meetings took place. And a lot of efforts were made, discussions were held, different committees were formed. But we saw that in spite of the efforts, there was a very, very challenging political situation in front of all the governments at that point in time. And the situation was, should we even take the risk of trying to find a real solution to this or not? That question lingers or comes to every government's mind. It's natural, sir, because this subject is so sensitive. And hence, in the large number of the meetings we saw in the past, the governments would end up having the meetings, discuss very important issues, no doubt, would bring out their points, would bring out the maps, and at the end of the day, the meeting would end with a decision that we will maintain status quo. And hence, this became a norm. And many times we saw that many governments ultimately would have meetings, have discussions, but there would not be a concrete conclusion to how we would actually end up resolving the boundary or the border dispute between the two states. And it is here that we as a government have mentioned many times in the press and here in the House also, that political will to be able to take this discussion forward to a conclusion is what the MDA government did in the past 5 years. The same questions came to our mind, Mr. Chairman, sir. The same questions came to our mind. The same risks we faced. Many political leaders told us, there is no need to go into this decision making because it will have political ramifications. But it required a very, very strong political will at that point in time to tell ourselves and the cabinet and all the government with us that there may be political risk and we may actually be not able to find a perfect solution. But then, isn't that our responsibility right now that we at least try to move this in the right direction? Haven't the people of the state living in the border areas suffered for too long? Haven't we lost too many lives because of the border tension in these areas of differences? And aren't we being given an opportunity here today to be able to do something about it? And will we not look back maybe after 15, 20 years, 30 years and say that we had an opportunity to do something, but because we were worried about the political ramifications, we did not? And these are the questions that went through our minds during those very, very critical moments, whether to actually even dare to say that we will not now talk of status quo, let us actually go ahead and find a solution. So, sir, it is not an easy task for us. One has to remember that we did it with great challenge in front of us, with a lot of uncertainty that was there, but it required that political will. And we have been saying this from day one, that the MDA government had that political will. Contributions have been made by all the past governments, and I once again would like to place it on record that I thank them for all the work that was done. I have just received the meetings. So there were 32 meetings that were held from 1971 regarding different border issues. So a lot of time was spent, a lot of homework was done, and definitely a lot of contribution was made by every individual. These are chief ministers' meetings, sir. 32 meetings of chief ministers took place. including in the past government. In fact, the past government, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meetings. Out of these 32 meetings were held in the past government, and 22 were held before 2017. That means between 2071 and 2017, 22 meetings took place, and in between 2018 and 2022, 10 meetings between chief ministers took place. And in the last 30 years, from 1992 till 2019, chief secretary level meetings, 9 of them took place. So hence, yes, everybody has contributed. But while that contribution has been there, as I had mentioned, it is that political will to take things to the next level is what we have said that the MDA government did, and which is a fact, sir. That's number one. And I again place it on record that we thank all the past governments and chief ministers for their contributions in order to try and resolve the border issue between the two states. Sir, the second point which I want to mention about this first part of my reply regarding the contributions by the different governments, that the reports that were made in 2011, 2012 have definitely been, as I said, the basis of our negotiation. So I'm sure that the reports and the statements made by the honorable member on how the then government had gone through a lot of pain to prepare these reports, I'm sure they are true, because we have seen the reports, a lot of homework was done, a lot of detail was put in. But I also would like to mention at this point in time that while those reports were there, which is in fact the basis of our negotiation, we are facing a large number of challenges today because of that report also. I will just give an example to make my point. That when we had gone in the West Khasi Hills sector to discuss about the public hearing that had to take place. So at that point in time, when we went to the sectors in West Khasi Hills, sir, I don't want to mislead the House, so I don't want to give the exact numbers, but just to give the point across, that in the list, approximately 21, that is in the original report of 2011, there were approximately 21, 22 villages which was there in that report. But when we went for the public hearing, people from 36 villages came, which means about 14, 15, 16 more villages came, which were not in the report. Some of them even way into the Assam border, which was not in the map which was given by Meghalaya as areas of differences. And hence, those villages which were not in the 2011 report, they also came in, and in the public hearing they said that they want to be with Meghalaya. And after the MOU, when we moved forward with things, those villages, some of those villages, were the ones who have created concerns and have expressed concerns that why they have been left out. So what I'm trying to tell you, sir, is that yes, the homework was done in 2011, but when we went for the negotiation in 2020, 21, when we started the discussions, because those villages which now want to be in Meghalaya were not in the 2011 report, it became a big difficulty for us to include. When we told Assam that, well, we should include these villages, Assam said the 2011 report does not include those villages that you're bringing in now. And hence, we cannot discuss on those villages. And they have a point. Government is government. The report was made, whether it was MDA government or any other government. The report of the government of Meghalaya is the report of government of Meghalaya. And hence, this 2011-12 report, which included about 21, 22 villages, did not have the rest of the villages which then came for demand that they also want to be included. So these are the kind of challenges we faced. And a large number of, as I said, people who later on came and were not happy with the MOU, a large number of them are villages which were actually not in the map given by Meghalaya in 2011. Let me give you a small example of one location called Malang Salbari. Now the map that was drawn in the Tarabari sector, in that sector there was a small curve drawn by Meghalaya given in the 2011 report. And in that curve, the dot that was put in there was the area that we have managed to get, the whole map we managed to get into Meghalaya. But in that map which we drew, the village of Malang Salbari has been shown in Assam. Though we are demanding it and saying that it is in Meghalaya, in the list of villages it was listed in Meghalaya, or it was part of our demand, part of those villages that we want. But in the map that we drew and gave in that same report, we showed Malang Salbari as in Assam. These kind of complexities were very difficult for us to resolve, because it was maybe a typing error or a drawing error. I don't know what, I'm not here to blame anybody. But these are facts with which we have to now work with. So Meghalaya is demanding Malang Salbari. It's put it in the villages that it should come to Meghalaya, which is fine. But in the map, same report, when we drew the map, we showed Malang Salbari village in Assam. And we did not show it in Meghalaya nor in the areas of differences. Now, how do I go to Meghalaya, to Assam and say, sorry, this is a mistake, can you just change that? It's very difficult and very complicated. Now, this is the kind of complication with which we had to work with, sir. So therefore, though the reports were made, and of course, I'm sure nothing is 100% perfect. There will always be issues, there will be problems, there may be mistakes. But what I'm saying is that these limitations have happened. Now, even when it comes to the new areas that are there, I'm sorry, not new areas, the remaining areas. In the remaining areas also, I don't want to go into much details because we are yet to start the official discussion. But just so that the House has a sense of what we are talking about. That while we put the maps in different areas for the rest of the 6 areas of differences, the names of the villages we gave fall way short of the villages that we are now demanding. So in certain areas, in the list that we have submitted in 2011 report, without naming the area, without naming the villages, for example, we had put in sector A, we had put demand for 12 villages. Now we are getting reports from the people, they're saying, no, they are not 12, they are 36 villages. Now, where do we stand as a government when we have to now go and discuss with Assam, saying that now we increase it from 12 to 36. Now, I'm not saying that we can't do it. Well, we will negotiate, we will discuss. But I'm saying that the point where we are starting off, we're already starting off at a very difficult point. So we will still work, we will still fight for it. But these are the kind of challenges that we are working with. That now the 2011-12 report is the basis on which we are negotiating. But the list out there misses out many villages which people are now saying that we also want to be in Meghalaya. So these kind of challenges with which we are working. So yes, the past governments have done their work, but it has also created a bit of complication for us now and kind of made our discussions and negotiations a bit harder than what it would have been if the slate was clean, or maybe if all the villages were included, which the people are demanding. So these kind of instances happen, these kind of challenges happen. But as I said, it's a complex problem. And sir, I want to repeat myself, I'm not here to blame anybody. Blaming does not help at all. It is not healthy also, and as mentioned by the honorable member from Nongpo, this is a problem where we need to work together. So blaming will not help at all. But I need to put the facts on the table so that the members understand that we are starting from this point. It's not with the point to justify anything, neither is it my desire to blame any past government for it, but I have to mention the facts because this is really what the problem is. And hence we are facing numerous challenges, as I said, because the reports that were created, which is a lot of work went in, but the factual at the grassroots level is slightly different from the reports, and that has created a very complex situation for us. Does that mean that we are not going to fight for it? Absolutely not. We will fight, but as I said, we are in a situation which has made things slightly more complicated than it could have been if we had put in all the details, sir. So coming to the discussion on the MOU that was signed and why we decided on how we to move forward in. So sir, in the first instance, when we decided to go ahead with 6 areas, again a lot of people questioned, why are we going for 6 areas? Why not 7? Why not 10? Why these 6? Why not the other 6? Sir, it could have been any way. We could have gone for 7 also, we could have gone for 8 also, we could have gone for different areas also, but we had to make a decision. So therefore, again, I always mention this in all my speeches because I've seen that it is always one of the most difficult parts as a leader and as the head of the government. It's the decision making which is what is expected of you. And hence, we have to look at all the aspects, plus, minus, past, future, present, look at all the stakeholders, look at all the facts that could impact this decision, and then decide on what would be the best course of action. It will not be the perfect one, but how do we minimize the risk? How do we minimize the fallouts? How do we minimize the different damages? But yet be able to move forward in a positive way so that we can at least start the process rolling. And that's why after a lot of detailed thinking and consultation and discussion with our stakeholders as well as with the other side, the Assam government, we had, as I said, you've seen, sir, this official meetings that I've mentioned and I mentioned in my speech, that we had 10 meetings officially in the last 5 years. So the last 40 years, or rather last 45 years, saw 22 meetings of chief ministers from both sides. But in the last 5 years, we had 10 meetings in the last 5 years alone. And these are official meetings, sir. I'm not counting the unofficial meetings that the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam and myself had multiple times to discuss this issue. And if I were to add all of that, maybe we would have close to about 30, 40 meetings we would have had, and hundreds of phone calls and conversations on the telephone. So that is the kind of effort that went into all of this. And ultimately we decided that let us start off with relatively simpler and smaller areas. None of the areas are simple, all are complicated, all are sensitive, but we need to start somewhere. And hence we decided that let us go with the smaller ones and the ones that looked to be slightly easier to work towards. And hence the process of 6 areas of differences and the discussion started, sir. Sir, once we did that, we realized that sitting in Shillong is not the way to find a solution to this. This is something that requires us to understand the problem at the grassroots level. And we also realized the second part is that this is not a decision that we can take by sticking to our positions. This is not a decision that we can take by sticking to our maps and reports. And hence we decided that it may be important for us that we need to think in a different way and bring in different factors to be able to help us resolve this issue. If we stick to our positions, then these talks will go on for another 100 years and we will not reach a conclusion. And hence, can we look at the positions in a different manner? Can we bring in other factors that would help us resolve it? And could we go to the grassroots level to really find out what the problem is and what the people want to be able to take this forward? And that thought process then finally led us to coming to the point that we must go to the people. Because ultimately it is about the people. It is about what the people want. And therefore, if we were to stick with our maps, well, I can show 2 maps, and then Assam would come out with 10 maps. Assam would come out with 1 report, and I would come out with 10 reports. So if this was the way forward, we realized that we may not be able to come to a conclusion. So while the maps and the reports and the past records are important, historical facts are important, we needed to also broaden our approach to the entire process. And hence, the different aspects we realize, most importantly, that the people's will is very crucial. And we unofficially discussed this with my Assam counterpart, where we said that even if today Assam or Meghalaya says that this village is going to be in Meghalaya, and if the people of that village do not want to be in Assam or in Meghalaya, can we force them? Can we tell them, no, you have to be in Meghalaya or you have to be in Assam? Even to that level, the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam and myself discussed that we need to realize that while we are here as 2 governments, we are not 2 different countries. We are very much part of India. And yes, within this, our Indian, the boundary of India, we have concerns and we have differences. How can we amicably find a solution and resolve this issue while realizing that the people of the border areas have suffered for too long, and this kind of an issue cannot go on forever? And therefore, sir, the sequence of discussions and processes started. And that's when we said, let us look at people's will. Let us look at ethnicity. Let us look at governance. Let us look at administrative convenience. Let us look at contiguity. Let us look at historical facts. And that's when we started looking at the entire problem in a much more broader scale. And we realized that we need to see all of these factors. We realized that if there's a village which has a Khasi population, and then after that we find that there's another village that has got Nepali population after that, and then there's another Khasi population, and Nepali or Assamese, and then there's another Khasi village. Now, how do we get the people's will, and how do we connect that village to the rest of the map? The contiguity is important. So all these factors were considered, and we looked at how we can move forward, because our desire was to see that we should find a solution to this. May not be, I repeat this, so it's very critical to remember this point, and I keep saying it. You must have heard me say it a million times in many situations, that we will never ever be able to find a perfect solution. It is not possible in a complex situation like this. But we need to find the best possible solution. And we need to go with that mindset, with that approach. Doesn't mean that we start compromising on our stand. Doesn't mean that we start compromising on our demands. But it just means that we need to see the picture in a much broader scale and realize that in the larger interest of things, we need to find a solution. That is very crucial. And while we stick to our points, while we stick to our discussions, we will need to also understand that there is an overarching problem of 2 different states, of multiple communities in each of the states, and this issue being sensitive in nature. And hence, all of these factors needs to be kept in mind while we take forward this discussion, sir. And hence, we chose the 6 locations. We had multiple rounds of meetings at different levels, sir. And the detail case, I don't have the exact report of the number of meetings that were there, that took place of the different regional committees. The regional committees did extensive exercise, sir. I must tell you that. And I must thank the regional committee members. Imagine, sir, these are villages, some of them which are not accessible easily by vehicle. They have to be traveled, some areas have to be traveled by 4-5 hours of road, travel by vehicle, and some areas you have to even walk for a few hours to get there to those villages. And so the committees, they went to ground zero. They went and met the people. We had a process which we call a referendum, sir. So even though we don't call it referendum in the process, but that is precisely what we did. We called the villagers and we asked the villagers right there and then in front of Assam and Meghalaya regional committees, which state or which region, which area would you like to be in, which state would you like to be in. And we got the referendum of the people living in that area. In some areas, they unitedly put up their hand and they said, we want to be in Meghalaya. And Assam government, people were sitting there watching and listened to it. When we met at the Chief Minister's level, the Chief Minister of Assam asked, what did the people say? And the answer of the regional committee chairman was, the people said, we want to be in Meghalaya. So this kind of exercise was never conducted in the past. And it is this government in the MDA 1 that we did it. Now, I'm not claiming that we are the only ones who did it, or only ones who have actually contributed to making this possible. But the fact that we went to every village, had a referendum, had a people's voice heard, and we had all the the vote, not voting, but literally kind of a hand shown and saying that where would you like to be. These are things that were done by this government. And we cannot deny that, sir. And these are things which were not done. And therefore, after we went and we asked the people where you would like to be, reports were made. As I said, multiple times the regional committees have gone, multiple times they have had meetings, multiple times they have met all stakeholders, sir. And hence, it would be incorrect to say that we did not have consultations. In fact, just to give an example, sir, on the 15th of December, there was a consultation with the Khasi Hills Autonomous District Council and the Jainti Hills District Council, and the traditional heads was done on the 15th of December. On the same day, we also called different civil society and NGOs to come and have a discussion with us. We called all the political parties in that day separately. All were done separately, sir. But we called all of them and we had consultation on these issues, and we received different memorandums and documents from them. Again, on the 23rd of February, we had a meeting with the NGOs and the civil society to discuss these details. Again, on the 7th of March, we had a meeting with the political parties, and all party meetings were called, and we briefed them about the boundary issue and took the suggestions from them. Hence, a wide-scale consultation was done. So it would be incorrect to say that we did not consult people. We did, sir. And the records are very much there, whether it's the district councils, whether it is the traditional heads, whether it is the political parties, whether it is the civil society, or whether it is the local people. Every stakeholder was consulted. Now, if consultation means that we have to agree to all the recommendations and suggestions given by them, then that's a different story, sir. I must say that obviously we could not agree, or we could not get all the suggestions made by different stakeholders. We could not get those facts or points through. But that is the nature of these kind of discussions and solutions that we work for. We'll not be able to satisfy every single demand that is there. But as I said, in the larger interest of the people living in the border area, we realized that we had to move forward, sir. And that is why, after deep consultation with many, many stakeholders, which was done in many, many occasions, including, as I said, the visits being made by the regional committees to the ground zero and meeting people and actually discussing with them, these different stands and decisions were taken, sir. So coming to the MOU specifically of the first 6 areas of differences. Sir, as rightly mentioned by the honorable member who was talking about the fact that whether this MOU will stand ground or not. So this is precisely the point. This is a memorandum of understanding at the highest level between the two states in the presence of the Home Minister. And therefore, obviously, this memorandum of understanding will now be put into executive order in different areas, and the necessary procedures that are there which need to be followed will be followed at the leadership level, especially when it's at the highest level of the government, in the states and at the center. This is what the procedure is. We followed, we signed an MOU, and based on this, now at different levels, the surveys are being done. Some areas, the surveys are going slower. Some areas, there were certain complaints. Some areas, the survey is going on as per plan. And these are challenges which we will see in a complex situation like this where, the border issues are concerned, sir. So second thing about the MOU was mentioned that this entire issue of give and take, which was mentioned by the honorable member. Sir, we don't want to use the word give and take in the sense that is it that we're just giving and we're taking from people. You could use whatever nomenclature that you would like to. But from my point of view, the way I see it is that we have to find the solution keeping in the larger interest of the people in mind. And therefore, in that solution that we are discussing, we have to put down certain principles. Now, if I put down a principle saying that the people's will is important, and I apply that principle to, say, village A, and suddenly we go to village B, and then suddenly that principle is not working for me in village B, I cannot say, no, this principle will not apply anymore. I have to apply the same principle which I applied in village A to village B, because that's the nature of finding solutions. So therefore, in those situations, we applied a principle where we said, let us go with the people's will. Let us try to understand what the people want. And sir, if you look at that situation, since the honorable member left them out, I'd like to bring to your notice the Tarabari sector, which had 4.69 square kilometers. So the result of the MOU was Meghalaya got 4.69 square kilometers and Assam got 0. I'll repeat, sir. Meghalaya got 4.69 square kilometers and Assam got 0. If you look at the Hahim sector, where 3.51 square kilometers were there, Meghalaya got 3.21 and Assam got 0.3 square kilometers. Now, it's just to bring things into perspective, because honorable member was saying in Gizang, these areas were there where the reserve forest went through. But there are other areas in which 99% of these areas, and in case of Tarabari, 100% came to Meghalaya. And let me also share with you, sir, Tarabari sector and area was a sector which was completely under administrative control of Assam. Completely. The schools were being run by Assam. The power was being supplied by Assam. All the different government schemes were being done by Assam. All the different programs were being done by Assam. Meghalaya had no administrative presence in that area. But it was an area of difference. What made government of Assam agree to give this is the people's will. The people, when they were asked in Tarabari sector, which state would you like to be in? They said, we want to be in Meghalaya. And even though that area was under the control and administrative jurisdiction of Assam, the Assam government agreed on giving this entire sector to us because the people of that area said that we want to be with Meghalaya. This is the principle on which we moved forward. And so you'll be surprised to note that there are some villages in this area now where the Assam government has now pulled out their teachers in some of the villages, and some of the schools are now without teacher because Assam had appointed those teachers and now those teachers are not there, and now Meghalaya government is in the process of appointing those because those were run by Assam government there. My point being, sir, there is a matter of principle, and you apply the principle in one area, we have to apply it throughout. Now we went to Boklapara, and this is something that has been a very difficult decision for us. And there was a village which was completely Raba dominated. And it was a dot, the village itself was Boklapara, Jimri Gaon. And in this Jimri Gaon area and this area of, so Jimri Gaon and Lingkung area, which had a large population of Rabas. Now they had mentioned at that point in time that the Rabas would like to be in Assam. Now, as I said, sir, these are one or two villages that are there. Because out of the total number of close to 36 villages, Meghalaya was able to get 31 villages to agree to come to Meghalaya. That's a large number, sir. We have to realize that. And it's all based on the people's will. And hence, when we applied this principle, it was not correct and not possible for Meghalaya to say, well, this principle will apply in this place because it suits us, but it will not apply in this place because it doesn't suit us. That is not how discussions take place. We have to focus on a principle and move towards it, because we felt that that may be the best principle and the foundation on which we'll be able to actually find the most practical and best solution that we can think of. And hence, this entire process started, sir, and the different MOUs that we signed in these different locations was based on this principle, majority on the principle of people's will. And the people of majority of these areas decided to come to Meghalaya. Now in Gizang area, there are places called Amangao is there, then Gohani Mara is there, and Malsapara is there, sir. Now, if you look at the map of Gizang, and you look at from south to north, it's almost like a rectangle, sir. If you look at Gizang, because since the Honorable Member mentioned that large forest area went in, the Amagao and Gohani Mara villages are towards the south-north of Gizang sector. And there is Malsapara area, which is right at the top of the south. And in between comes a large Gizang Reserve Forest, which has been under the administrative control of Assam, sir. When we asked the people of Amagao and Gohani Mara, the people there said, we want to be with Meghalaya. When the whole committees went and they asked in Malsapara area, which side you would like to be, in that particular meeting, the people of Malsapara said that we would like to be in Assam. Now, after that meeting took place, there were about 1 week later, 2 weeks later, some people came with different memorandums to us from Malsapara saying that, no, we want to be in Meghalaya. Now, when we brought this to the notice of the committee and the Chief Minister's level meeting, then they started also getting documents from Tarabari sector by people signing them and saying, no, we want to be with Assam. So hence the entire exercise of conducting the referendum and people's voice was becoming obsolete. And hence we had to then stick to the original visits of the committees and what the people in those meetings said. And hence we came to the conclusion that Malsapara area, though they gave us a memorandum later on, but in the meeting they all voted and they said and raised their hands and they said that we want to be in Assam. And hence when we decided on that factor, since the reserve areas was always under the administrative control of Assam, this discussion took place and we said from Gohani Mara upwards towards a buffer zone to Gizang area. And since there are no villages and no inhabitants in that area, in the forest area, that area was then decided that since Assam is already under administrative control of that area will go to Assam. And that is an area where there is no inhabitation, sir. So if you look at the entire discussion, it is a very balanced discussion that took place. It is a very balanced agreement or a understanding that we have come to. We have taken all the stakeholders into consideration. We have gone into in-depth analysis and in-depth consultation with different stakeholders, and only then have we come to this point in time, sir. And hence, now if you were to look back and say that we're going to change this, sir, the entire purpose of the way we have worked and the exercise that we conducted in this entire process, so will be in vain. And we realize that if you look at all the decisions that were made, it has been done keeping in mind the best interest of the people of the border area. And hence, sir, we are very clear that we will be sticking to this MOU. We are very clear that we will be going ahead with the discussions. There are some factors, sir, I want to say this in the House without giving too much of details because it is still in the process of discussion, that there is still some fine-tuning at the micro levels that need to be done. Now, for example, we know that this village is there. The details go down to the level of whether this tree will be in Meghalaya or this tree will be in Assam or not. And if the border has to be put in, the pillar has to be put in, will it be put in before the tree or after the tree? Will this particular house that is there, will this house be in Assam or in Meghalaya? That kind of micro detail discussion and survey is going on as we speak. And hence, the process still requires a lot of fine-tuning to be done because of the fact that the micro details and positions in certain areas is very, very complicated still. But as I said, the overall understanding that we have reached is a huge milestone, sir. It's a huge confidence-building exercise. I remember when I had met some people from Block 2 area and Block 1 area, I could see that emotion in their voice, hear the emotion in their voice, and I saw the tears in their eyes, sir, at that moment when they told me that we want you and we know that this government will resolve this issue. We have confidence. And that is a kind of emotion today, sir, that is going on. People have a sense of faith and confidence and belief that finally things are happening. And keeping in mind the people, the suffering that they're going through, sir, it is the duty of each and every person here in this room to resolve an issue like this, which has been pending for so many years, sir. Sir, coming to the new areas, I keep saying new, sir. The remaining 6 areas, there are no new areas, the remaining 6 areas that are there. Sir, after the swearing in and formation of this government, I had made a visit to Delhi, as you're aware, and I had met everybody from the Honorable President to Honorable Vice President, Prime Minister, Home Minister, and many other leaders in Delhi. And during my course of discussion at different levels, the discussion about the border issue had also come out. And the central leadership had also of the government of India had also expressed that this issue the momentum should not be lost, and that we should try and take all stakeholders into confidence and try and find a solution to this particular problem also. And hence, sir, I am happy to inform the House that we have reconstituted the committees because of the change after the election. There were some members who did not win in the election, and certain positions changed, and hence we have now reconstituted the committees. And this may be the best opportunity for me to read out the names of the new committee members. So for Ribhoi's committee, the regional committee, Shri Preston Tinsong, Deputy Chief Minister in charge Home Police, will be the chairperson. The members will be Shri Sostenes Sotun, MLA of Jirang and the Government Chief Whip. Third member will be Shri Merilbon CM, the MLA of Nongpo. The fourth member will be Shri Damanbait Lamare, MLA of Umroi constituency. The fifth member will be Charles Marangar, the MLA of Mohati constituency. Sixth member is Shri Jambor War, the executive member of the KHEDC in charge Ilaka. And number 7, the Deputy Commissioner Ribhoi will be the member convener. So West Khasi Hills, the reconstituted committee will be as follows. Shri Paul Lingdo, Minister in charge Social Welfare, will be the chairperson. Shri R.L. Tonkar, MLA Mokurwat, will be member. Shri Methodius Dakar, MLA Motion Route, will be member. Shri Remington Gabal Momin, MLA Ramrai Janangam constituency, will be member. Shri Jigur Marthong, Deputy CEM of KHADC, will be a member. Shri Banjop Pinrop, MDC of Ramrai Janangam KHADC, will be a member. And Deputy Commissioner of West Khasi Hills will be the member convener. For West Jente Hills, Shri Snowbalang Dhar, Deputy Chief Minister in charge Urban Affairs, etc., will be the chairperson. Number 2, Shri Kamingwon Umbon, Minister Food and Civil Supplies, will be a member. Number 3, Shri Lakmen Rumbui, MLA of Amlarem constituency, will be a member. 4, Shri Nujurki Sungo, MLA of Mokayo constituency, will be a member. 5, Shri Thombor Shivat, CEM of Jente Hills Autonomous District Council, will be a member. 6, Shri Aiborlang Shadap, the MDC of Boroto Mukro of Jente Hills Autonomous District Council, will be a member. And number 7, the Deputy Commissioner of West Jente Hills will be the member convener, sir. Hence, the committees have now been reconstituted. This was done about a week back, and the notification was out a week back. But I thought that it's good that I will mention it now on the floor of the House. And this may be the best time to share it with everyone. And soon we will be, after the session is over, maybe sometime in the month of April or May, we will initiate the first rounds of talk, where we will ask the regional committees also to be present. And post that, as has been done before, we will ensure that detailed and deep consultations take place with different stakeholders, and meetings take place at the grassroots level in ground zero to really understand all the points and the concerns of the people living in those areas, and also obviously of all the stakeholders like the district council and the traditional heads and the different civil society and all other stakeholders concerned. We will take them into confidence and do deep consultation before we decide on how to move forward. And while I say that, sir, I have to admit that it is indeed a very, very complex situation. And it is not going to be so easy for us to be able to find a solution that is going to be 100% acceptable solution to all. But I would like to appeal to everyone in this house today, and also the people of the state and all the other stakeholders who are involved out here, that let us keep the larger picture in mind. Situations and solutions and problems like this cannot be resolved if we keep sticking to our positions and keep sticking to our point and not realizing that maybe if we were to just take one step to the right or one step to the left, our vision and our view may change of the things, and in the larger interest of finding a solution, that we may need to understand that we may need to look at different ways of solving this problem. It's very important that we go with the right mindset into this discussion. If we go with a negative mindset, if we go with a mindset that we will not listen to anybody, that we will not move an inch, that we will not agree to anything that the other side says. If the other side said yes, then we will say no. If they say no, then we will say yes. Then we will not be able to find a solution ever to this complex problem. So hence we must go with an open mind, sticking to our demands, ensuring that we don't compromise on the basic principles and the interests of our people. That should be the basis of our discussions. And I don't want to use the word deal, that this deal is good or this deal is bad. It is not a deal, sir. We're not trying to deal with somebody and we're going to say that, okay, you take this, I take this. That's not our point. Our point here is, sir, the word I would like to use, and the best word that we can use is, what is the solution? We are here to find a solution. How do we do it? By ensuring that we maintain the interest of the different stakeholders. How do we ensure that we stick to our demands and our position in whatever way possible, and yet we're able to find a solution to this by keeping the larger interest in mind. Sir, I've always gone through this very important point and a guiding factor that was taught to me a long time back when I was taking some classes I was remembering in my college days. And there was a teaching on a class on negotiations. And they taught us the basics about negotiations. And they told us that negotiation can never be from a point of position. And when I say that, I would like to just bring this to the house so that people can understand and appreciate where we're coming from. When we say position, sir, then we are sticking to one particular demand of us. For example, sir, and I think this is a right forum to mention this also, that we have taken a position of ILP, for example. And our discussion has been that we demand ILP. Now, that's a position that we take. But ultimately, in negotiation, what we have to remember is what is our interest. Because a position is different from an interest. Because at the end of the day, the interest of our people and the state is to protect our identity, is to protect our people, is to ensure that issues like influx are controlled. Now, if we are going to go for a discussion and say, well, ILP is a point, yes, it helps us achieve that goal that we have and the interest that we have. But what my point is that if it's not from a point of position, but it is point of the achieving the goal which is there, which is what is important for us to remember while we go for discussions at this level, sir. So similarly, while we are coming here to discuss this, it's not our stand to say that we will not let go of anything. What is important for us to remember is that these are areas which are there, our people which are there. We need to ensure that our people are safeguarded. We have to ensure that the interest of our people is protected while we try to find a solution, an amicable solution to this problem. So I would appeal, I know that I don't need to go into details of all of this right now, but since members are present out here, I think it's important that I put this into the mindset of all our members right now and the public at large, that the approach has to be very thought of very well. And yes, I appreciate the suggestions made by all of the members. They're absolutely right. We don't need to rush, sir. And I can assure you, we're not here to rush at all. We're not here to solve the problem just because we have to solve it. Obviously, sir, we're not going to compromise on certain stands that we have. But as I said, that we need to not also leave it very, have a very soft approach or a slow approach to the whole thing. We need to ensure that we are consistent in our approach. We move forward in a positive manner, and we go with a mindset to find a solution, keeping the larger interest of the people and the state at mind. And therefore, we will do deep consultation. I assure the House, I assure the members that we will coordinate with all the stakeholders. Some of the members, in fact, the mover of the member had mentioned that the local MLAs and MDCs should be part of the committee. I'm sure that he is satisfied that he is very much part of this committee. And it's not that I'm saying it now because he said it. This notification came out a week back. So you're already part of the committee, but the notification had not reached you. But, or not week back, sorry. The notification came out 3 days back, but the decision was made about a week back. The notification came out about 3 days back. So this was already done before you even mentioned this in the House. You're already part of the committee, and so are the other local MDCs also. And we have not left out the district councils, as we had earlier mentioned. And the committee, sir, can at any time call other members, call other stakeholders, and have consultation with them. This is not limited only to this particular committee, but this will be the core regional committee that we have set up, sir. So the terms of reference of this committee are also there, which I don't feel I need to go through it, all of it. Once the notification reaches the honorable members, I'm sure they will be able to go through it. And yes, and apart from that, sir, there are, of course, as I said, many issues that are there, which I could have discussed. There is a long reply which I've been given, which I am refraining from going into because it's more technical in nature. And since this is a highly sensitive and a politically and socially important issue, I chose to speak direct about the points and how we have approached this entire issue. And as has been committed to the people of the state, I especially want to send this message across to the people living in the border areas, that while we work towards finding the solutions, there could be different challenges. But let me assure them that as a government, we are going to ensure that sufficient manpower is there, sufficient infrastructure in terms of our forces are there in these different areas of differences, so that the confidence level and the safety level of our people is maintained. I want to assure each and every one, especially the people living in the border area. And number two, I also want to share with you that we are in constant touch with our counterparts. I am in constant touch with Assam Chief Minister. Let me tell you that whenever an incident happens out there, there is no protocol that goes between Assam Chief Minister and me. I immediately call him up directly, even maybe before the Chief Secretaries are able to talk, or even before the DCs are able to talk, the two Chief Ministers talk and ensure that necessary instructions are given to ensure that situations don't escalate and situations are resolved. So we are in constant touch. This is a very important issue for us. We understand the pain and the suffering that you have faced in the last 50 years, and we are committed, this whole House is committed to ensure that we are able to find a solution so that the people in these areas can live in peace in the coming years, sir. And it is with this mindset that we are approaching this problem, and I assure the House that we are determined to make sure that we find an amicable solution to this border issue. So with these few words, sir, I once again thank the honorable member for bringing out this very important issue and giving me an opportunity to clarify on a large number of issues. And with these few words and clarifications, sir, I would like to resume my seat. Thank you very much, sir.